Is James Maddison better, or can he be better than prime Christian Eriksen? We'll start with you, Johnny, on this one. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I do believe it. I think we've had such snobbery, especially at this club, when we look down on the Championship as some lesser light. Oh, yes, he's done very well, in the Championship, but I don't know if he can make it. This is the Premier League. Where really the truth of the matter was that I think the Championship, in some respects, and some of the teams were better than League One, in France, and some of the teams in the Spanish league. I think it's more competitive than people think. When you look at Grealish, Bowen, and Maddison has got a new lease of life. I think he has embraced this opportunity with both feet. I mean, it's interesting. I see Eriksen. He had 305 games for Spurs, right? And he scored 69 goals and 90 assists. It was quite a lot of assists, right? But Maddison in 203 games, so it's 102 games less, has got 55 goals, so only 14 less. I actually think, 41 assists. But I do believe that if you also played with the quality that Maddison is going to be playing with, that he's going to have far more assists. I expect to have minimum this season 12 and 12. That's my prediction for this season for Maddison. I think he's just different. I think he's a better free kick taker than Eriksen.
Eriksen was so good at the beginning. I don't know what happened. He went like three.
The 2014, I think his free kicks were. I think it was 2014.
Yeah,
free kicks and then I think he became a better player, but the free kicks went for some reason.
Couldn't get past the first man. How many times did you shout at a corner?
The corner, yeah. One thing that I've noticed with Maddison that's slightly different to Eriksen is that he takes the pressure off the team, and when we're defending, he drops back, he gets the ball, and he drives into the spaces a little bit better. He dribbles better than Eriksen, which actually relieves the pressure off the team a bit more. And by quickly turning defense into attack by that little dribble, suddenly we're right bang, got a goal opportunity by just doing that little turn, that little drop of the shoulder, and really attack the space in front of him. I think Eriksen was a little bit more sort of, controlled the game, a bit more of a metronome in there, and sort of controlled the tempo a little bit. But I think Maddison has the ability to, and also round the edge of the area in the final third, I think he drives into the box a little bit more with the ball or without the ball to try and receive it.
I think I agree. Also, what was interesting, I felt, was against Bournemouth, he played a completely different role. He was deep lying. Yeah. I was reading the stat, I think 45% of his touches were in his own third of the box, just outside the penalty box, and yet he was controlling the game from there, bringing the ball forward. Whereas, in other games we've seen him play a lot further forward. So I don't know whether this was Ange asking him to play that role, or Maddison being intelligent enough to see the opportunity. This is where he could gain space and have more influence on the game. I think he's very, very clever. I think that the move to Spurs will give him the England opportunities that he's craved for. I know it's very crowded space there, but I just think that how we've gone 3 years without a creative midfielder is just beyond me. And, it's going to bring so much to this team. And I think Eriksen, there was so much around Eriksen at the time that maybe we didn't appreciate him as much as we should. I don't know. What do you think, John?
Well, I don't know. I was just thinking that, Eriksen looked great, but you've got to remember that team we had under Poch was absolutely, if you look at it on paper, you're thinking, how did we not win a trophy with that team? But when we did lose Dembele, I did notice that Eriksen did look a little bit more lost, shall we say. And I don't know if you remember it started to. We did get fourth that season, but it was really we were falling over the line a little bit.
Couldn't influence.
And he wasn't influencing as much. And I'm just wondering, what would be the difference between a Maddison and Eriksen in that situation? I don't know. I mean, it's hard to tell. You could also argue that Bissouma's with with Maddison, and that's helping things out a lot because when that, when they're not playing, we completely lose the midfield. When those two are in that team together, they almost complement each other, and we've got complete control of the game. And against Man United, the first 20 minutes or so, we were sort of sat back. We were couldn't even get hold of the ball. Maddison was coming back and collecting the ball and really taking the pressure off the team. And that's when we start to get a bit more of a foothold. So I think he's got that intuition to sort of get involved and know how to drop back, know when to go forward. I think he's got he's got that kind of footballing IQ, hasn't he? He's got a good intelligence about him.
Sure. I mean, Eriksen's best ever season for Spurs was 10 goals. I believe that Maddison will surpass that. I really do. I think we're going to see 2-goal games.
But it's not. I don't even care if he didn't. I mean, obviously you want him to score goals, but like I said, if he's in that team and you can see the team is absolutely flying and he doesn't score goals, I don't care.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I know a lot of people look at it in terms of goals and assists and so on, but for me, as long as the team, and you can tell when a team's flying, you can watch it. Everything looks like it's like a well-oiled machine. If that's happening and he's a part of that, I'm not
100%, John. I said exactly the same thing. I think it's fluid. It doesn't matter where it comes from.
Yeah.
This team is. I want to see interchanging. I want to see fluid movement, and the goals are going to come from everywhere. And as you say, it's about winning football games.
And I just want to say as well, it's funny that we've finally replaced Prime Poch with Ange. We finally replaced Eriksen with Maddison. You could say Dembele with Basuma on this season's performances. Udogie with Rose. I mean, who else we got in there?
I think Udogie's on a class.
Carl Walker.
Not quite. No, not quite there yet.
Kane with Son and Son with Solomon.
Yeah, not sure about that yet, but we're getting there. We're starting to rebuild that spine again. Van der Ven Vertonghen. Yeah, Van der Ven Vertonghen.
I think
it's taken 5 years, but we're kind of we're doing the painful rebuild just 5 years too late, basically.
Yeah, it's taken us a lot of time, hasn't it?
Boy, is it painful! Has it been painful?
Well, it's enjoyable now. It's enjoyable now.
It's enjoyable for the
first
time I've enjoyed football for 5 years.
Yeah.
When it comes to the whole Maddison versus Eriksen debate, I think for me, Maddison definitely does have the potential to be better than Eriksen, 100%, in terms of how effective he is on a football pitch. When I think about what John was saying about Maddison's ability to pick the ball up from deep areas and be more involved in the game, I think Eriksen used to drop deep sometimes. And I remember on occasion, it would happen where we would play Eriksen in a double pivot, but it never quite worked. I never thought he was totally comfortable there, whereas Maddison seems a lot more comfortable in those kind of areas because I think he's a lot more press resistant than Eriksen. Eriksen was a lot more easy to get the ball off, I feel like, than Maddison is. He's a lot more trickier with his dribbling ability. I think Maddison's more willing to make late runs into the penalty area as well and get into goal-scoring positions inside the box, and I think he's going to be a bit more of a goal scorer than Eriksen. When it comes to chance creation, I still put Eriksen above Maddison at the moment. I think Eriksen was a bit of a freak when it comes to chance creation, especially in those half spaces, like on the right and the left-hand side of the penalty area, with left or right foot as well. He was just extremely effective and with any sort of space. And I think Maddison's really good, don't get me wrong. He's probably in the upper echelons in the Premier League when it comes to chance creation. But when Eriksen was at his best, I don't think there was a midfielder in the league who was creating more chances than him. So I would say Maddison is just behind on that. But as an overall player, also you got to include the leadership ability as well, because Eriksen never really did that for Spurs. He was always a player who was one under the radar. I felt like in the dressing room, he didn't really, even though he was one of the main players in the team, he never seemed like the one who would stand up to be counted and encourage other players. Yeah. And you saw it in the documentary when he wanted to leave, he just wanted out. He didn't seem to be digging in for the team kind of thing. Whereas Maddison seems to be in a different stage right now, and I think he's more looking to do that with his leadership ability and encouraging other players as well. So I think overall, Maddison, look, it's hard to say after 4 games if he is a better player, but I definitely think he has the potential to be a better player from what I'm seeing, 100%. But I would say Eriksen still has some stuff over him at the moment.
I think the fact that we're even discussing it is unbelievable. The fact that we're comparing the two suggests that we've got a great thing going on here. And I also think that
Maddison's been one of the leading Premier League attacking mids of the last 2 seasons in this Leicester side. And I think when you're trying to compare them, obviously Eriksen, every time he played for us when he was on form, he made us tick. he was the guy that literally made us tick. And when he was off, we missed him dramatically because we didn't have someone that could be a complete assist machine time and time again like he could. But I think Maddison has more facets to his game in what all of you are saying, kind of like the way his ball carrying ability, the way he drives into the space, his leadership ability. But Eriksen does have facets that were better than Maddison. But I think as a whole player of what he can actually bring on a football pitch and to a game, I think Maddison actually is a better player.
And also, I mean, I was a little bit, shirty about his tweets and stuff. And I remember I was a bit annoyed that we signed him, to be honest with you.
He said he was never good, John.
I'm never going to get behind him. I'm never going to get behind him. I've come up with a chant for him, but never mind. But
he's not a gooner, you know that.
No, well, I felt like he was at the time.
He actually, an interview came to light when he was at Leicester, and he said that he was like a Man U or Liverpool fan. I can't remember.
Okay, good to know.
That's all right.
I'm going to put that aside. I'm going to put that aside. But one of the things I've noticed is he's actually, I can see that his personality is almost like a bit of a gel to the rest of the players. Yeah, and it's not just about atomized individual talent. It's actually about. It may just be I'm blinkered at the moment because we're winning and it feels as though there's a good team spirit, but it does feel as though there's a real brotherhood there, a togetherness with the personalities. And he's now sort of getting rid of the Ndombele's and stuff, the kind of the bad apples. And I actually think that Maddison has the sort of infectious, enthusiastic positivity that's actually rubbing off on a lot of the other players and bringing a lot of people together. I think that's maybe why he was, asked to be vice captain. I think he has that instant effect. You can see that when you watch his videos. You can see that he's just got that personality. And I think Ange mentioned it. He said it's not just about the signing. It's actually about the personality. It's about the person as much as the player. Yeah. And I think that's a kind of an ethos that you wouldn't have seen really, I don't think, under Mourinho or Conte. I think that's only really going to come about through a manager like Pochettino, Ange, maybe a Martin Jol or something like that, And I think that is starting to really show on the pitch, and you can see the way they're all pulling for each other at the moment. I haven't really seen this so much for years.
For a fan,
go on, Johnny.
I was just going to say, it was an interesting read. I read this before. It was quite interesting, right? About how as fans, how we've sort of come from last season to now. It says, imagine an away trip to Burnley under Jose or Conte. Ideally, for pathetic fallacy, it would be a Monday night in February, cold and raining. Turgid dross at best. 1-1 with an 87th minute own goal by Burnley for our equaliser in a game that you swore had been going for 290 hours, but you look at your watch and it is only 10 minutes into the second half. The sort of end of days Jose game where your mind starts wandering and you find yourself wondering during the game, do I have any toilet duck left in the house? And how tempted am I to squirt it into my eyes to relieve the pain? And who knows how this will end? But for the first time in a while, I would happily choose watching Spurs over having root canal without anaesthetic. And for that, Ange, I thank you.
Shakespeare, wasn't it?
Absolutely.
I thought it was brilliant. That really sort of sums up, a journey of us Spurs fans, over the last 3 or 4 years, and how now, you can just see to finish, to go out on a Saturday night and to be smiling and going to work and bump into people on Monday and say, yeah, you don't
We're all right.
say anything. He's playing all right, aren't they? Rather than be ridiculed. It's refreshing.
Yeah. Do you know what? This is the first.
Is this another false dawn, though? Is this another false dawn, or is this actually?
Well, who knows? Who knows?
Well, if it is, you better enjoy it now. That's what
enjoy it now. It's really the first time I've watched Spurs where you could actually say it is to dare is to do, embodied in the way that we
100%.
play. I don't know what the actual quote is. Maybe Ben, you might be able to remember because I think you've said it before. But even in defeat, there's an echo of glory.
I think the quote is
Bill Nicholson.
Is it Bill Nick or Danny Blanchflower?
I think it's Bill Nick, isn't it?
It's Bill Nick, yeah.
I think he said something like, if you aim so high that even failure has its echo of glory or something.
That's what it is. Yeah, and that's what I think. And Ange also said when he came in, he said, I'm not focused on results. I'm focusing on the performance. And if you get the performance right, the results take care of themselves. And I think that's a completely different mindset, because if you go out just to get the result, then you sacrifice the performance And
Conte was the complete polar.
And you're
opposite.
trying to panic your way to getting over the line. Now, if you focus on the fluidity, the passing, the movement, everything else, yeah, you might lose the game. But you know that you've set the conditions to win that game. And if you do that over a long period of time, probability-wise, you're going to win. You're going to come out on top. Whereas if you're just fighting just to get over the line, and you've seen this time and time again in FA Cup semis where our arseholes fall out, and we're just trying to just do enough to survive the games. And we never look like that. We never look like Spurs in FA Cup semis. We just look like a team on, fighting for our lives. And I think that's the mentality shift, the psychology shift that Ange's trying to instill. And you can see it already. I'd love to see what happens. I think the true test is Emirates, because even under Poch, the best teams that we've had, our arseholes fell out at the Emirates.
John, haven't you got the memo, John? Poch was a fraud. Like,
no, but that's for me. That's the yardstick.
His arsehole still lying on the pitch somewhere.
Yeah.
He's a massive fraud. He's a massive fraud.
I would love to see even if we lost to Emirates, I'd love to see us just go on the front foot there and just really just put in a performance. I don't care if we lose.
We will.
Really.
I think we will.
I hope so.
Here's Bill Nick's
Arsenal are there for the taking at the moment. I'm telling you.
I know. Yeah.
Well,
but all they need is a win against us to put them back on track. That's
going to kickstart their season and win against us. You watch.
Here's Bill Nick's statement. It is better to fail aiming high than to succeed aiming low. And we of Spurs have set our sights very high. So high, in fact, that even failure will have in it an echo of glory.
That's the one.
I just wish that could just send that memo to Levy, will he?
Well, funny enough, John, I'm fuming that our DNA. He talks about our DNA. Yeah. Bill Nicholson is our DNA, and yet his gates are still lying somewhere down the road. There's still no statue. There's still no gates. Down at Arsenal, they've got 7 statues. We don't have one. What does that say about this club? It's like it's been cleansed. Our past has been cleansed. No. We want to go, when you go with your kids, however, you've got kids, you don't have kids. Who's that, Dad? That's Bill Nick. He's the greatest manager ever. Who's that, Dad? That's the stories you tell your kids when they go. That's the story of Tottenham.
They're going to have a statue of Beyonce and Axl Rose or something like that before they have a statue of Bill Nick. But it's how we treat our legends, the way we treated Harry Kane as he was walking out this club. So
Daniel Levy's going to make a statue of himself because he believes how much he's done for the club. I wouldn't even put it past him.
Him and Joe Lewis and his his nephew player liaison guy will be one as well.
Can I just say this, just in case this ever filters to Levy's, cronies, his associates or something like that. Please don't make the same mistake as you did in 2015, where we had a great starting 11 and you thought, wow, I don't have to do anything. You had people like Harry Redknapp coming on Sky Sports saying, I wouldn't buy any players because who are you going to replace them with? Don't do anything. That was the first crack that appeared, because when you don't keep replenishing, eventually players start to fade, and then you're having to quickly, reactively replace these players. Levy, if you're listening, you be proactive, think in advance, do as a preventative measure for a couple of seasons time. You've got to start being proactive now with your signings. Don't just say, Angie's got it sorted. He's revitalized the team. I'm going to not do anything now. Everything's wonderful. You've got to treat it like we're 10-0 down going into a second half with the way that you invest in this team. Don't just think we're 10-0 up. I can sit back. I'll wait until things drop a little bit and then I'm going to do something. We've seen this before with Levy when he went a whole year and didn't buy anyone. And that was the opening of the story.
Yeah, what did Pochettino say in the documentary? You have to anticipate the house burning.
Exactly.
He said you have to anticipate the house burning down before it burns down.
Do not make that same mistake, please, Levy. We need you to be proactive and treat us like we're mid-table right now in terms of the investment going into this squad.
I wonder if he told Todd Bowley the same.
Look, John, let's finish off on the Maddison song.
Right, okay. So no. Maddison was calling for a chant, right? Yes.
Yeah.
Correct. I'm not happy about it. I don't think we're creative enough as a fan base with our chants. A lot of them are old ones, the Van der Ven, the Van der Vaart.
You're telling me James Maddison, James.
Yeah, Maddison. Come on, guys. Okay, are we all familiar with Bad Medicine?
Give us a rendition of Bad Medicine.
It's like bad medicine. Yeah, bad medicine. Right, so
does everyone in the comments know Bad Medicine? Let's see if they can
play it. So anyway, ready? This is the first rendition. There might be another one. Okay, first one is Tottenham have got James Maddison. James Maddison is what I need. Whoa, scoring goals just like James Maddison, the best midfielder in the Premier League. Right. What I want people to do, clip that up. Please tweet it to James Maddison and tell him if he replies back and does a little selfie video saying he approves of it, we'll all then sing it in the crowd and we'll make it into an anthem. So I need everyone watching to help out with that. Share it.
John, how many words is that? Because that average can normally only do one line.
Scoring goals like James.
Right, Tim, I need to test you. Sing it. I want you to sing it. I'm testing you. Right,
Can we put the words up?
I can't even remember. What was it? How
Tottenham have got James Maddison.
Tottenham have got James Maddison. James Maddison is all I need. Scoring goals just like James Maddison.
Actually, pretty good song.
The best
really good
in the Premier League. Right. Is there like a dude, like anything that we can jump up and down
at the end or something? Yeah.
Maddison. What about the other one? Maddison. And on.
Comparison.
Okay.
Oh dear.
What is that, Johnny?
Ariston. Was it Ariston? Was it?
Oh, you're thinking about that advert, aren't you? That's that's from like an 80s advert, isn't it?
Yeah, Ariston. I think it was called Ariston. Yeah.
Yeah. Can't see that one working.